AI is really set to transform financial services, and I think it's needed because in a lot of ways, and some of the examples that you're seeing in these 2 days, as an industry, I believe that we're behind. Swift's really in a unique position to bring together the global financial services community and bring together the community to deliver against the promise and the promises of what we see in AI. Today, what I'd like to talk about is really 2 things. One is, how did Swift turn the AI potential into reality? And that's important when we talk about the use cases. When we look at what's being done, it's really nice to pilot things and train things, but how are we actually going to demonstrate value with AI for the industry? And then I want to look a little bit into the future and talk about what's next. And I think one of the things you'll find interesting here is that we're dealing with a lot of the same challenges that you're going to deal with. And so even though we're in a different sector than some of the previous speakers in financial services, I think you're going to see a lot of parallels in terms of the approach that we're taking and how these solutions that we're providing across the industry are very common to the things that the people in this room are dealing with. So I really do believe that Swift is solving the problems for the future. And these are future problems, and this is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. But in launching our AI platform, I do think we're going to be addressing a lot of the future problems and hopefully be on the leading edge of that. And make no mistake about it, the stakes are really high here. If we're able to succeed in this, then we actually can deliver things I think that nobody either expected or even thought about for financial services. It's an important responsibility I think that we have based on who we are and what we do. And then the flip side of that, if we're not successful, if we do fail, I think we become less relevant. I think we become more vulnerable for competition. But more importantly, I think the industry just misses a really, really significant opportunity to expand and move things in a number of different ways. So Swift is not a household name. So if you're in financial services, or if you've actually sent money overseas, if you use your favorite bank or your provider to send money overseas, they'll ask for a Swift code. Well, we're the Swift code. Actually, we created the Swift code. And so unless you've done those 2 things, you probably don't know who Swift is. So I think it's important to start with who we are and what we do. And Swift is really the way that the world moves value every day. And we move value in terms of payments, in terms of money, foreign exchange transactions, and even securities processing. It's the way in which we move value around the world. It is every day, and it's across the world. We service 11,000 institutions, including the largest corporations and financial institutions, and of course, the banks. And we do that in over 200 countries. So our reach and the breadth of the network and the platform is significant and important for the overall smooth operation of the financial services industry. Swift's a bit unique in that we're member-owned. We're a cooperative. We're the world's largest and leading provider of secure financial messages around the world. And what we provide to our community is really 3 things. It's the network, it's the platform, and it's the standardization of those messages that are sent between the financial institutions and across the network today. Now, Swift exists, and we're driven by our members. We exist, on behalf of our members. So what we do is we actually enable our members to service their customers. And of course, the banks and the people in the community are our customers, but the real value that we add is the ability for them to service customers, to differentiate the products, however they like to do that, and to really take advantage of the network and the platform effects that we've built into Swift. Now we all know in AI, data is really important. It's kind of what, if you don't have that, you don't have a decent starting point. Our data is not only unique just in terms of volume and coverage, but also in terms of the data structure and data quality that we have. We do bring standardization to the market. I mean, that's how Swift started 50 years ago, was to connect different domestic payment systems together so that a payment can go from one country to the next. We've been doing that for 50 years this year. But it actually got better. A few years back, we launched a product that put a tracker on each one of the payment messages. And so if your payment gets delayed for 12 minutes in a data center in Frankfurt, we know that. So if you're a data scientist, you look at this data and you're encouraged. And it actually even gets better than that. Starting this month, the industry is moving forward towards a new standard for payment transactions. It's an ISO standard, 20022. It starts now, and with that we get richer data. So we already are in a really good position in terms of the data we have, and it's gotten better, and it only is going to get better. So I would think I propose to you one way to think about Swift is really, it's a unique company at a very special time as payments and even value and currencies are going digital, and we have beautiful data. But there's an important but. This is not our data. This is our customers' data. So we're a trusted steward of the data, and everything that we do and what we're driven by is really the responsible AI principles, and there's no better way to kind of focus people's minds and monitor what you're doing than actually write the principles down. So responsible AI principles will create the foundation for development and the use of AI models and AI systems. And really the idea here is to align that to societal values and the expectations that promote fairness, of course, transparency, and accountability. And when you do all those things, what that ends up in and what results in is trust. And all of finance is based on trust. Most people do what they say they're going to do every day. There's outliers, there's problems, there's criminals, but most of finance is driven by trust. Having this foundation actually allows us to build trust in a new capability and new technologies that we're bringing to the marketplace. And another thing I think is really interesting is that this actually drives innovation. Because of who we are and what we do and the data that we have, it's highly confidential. There's not a lot of historical data, so it drives innovation for things like building synthetic data. And even the work that we're doing, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes, in federated learning, to preserve the data privacy and security, but get the benefits of the data that Swift doesn't have in-house. So with this foundation, let's talk about the mission. Our strategy is very, very clear at Swift, and it was refreshed a few years back with the incoming CEO, with Javier, and it's really to deliver instant and frictionless payments worldwide. So instant means real time. Frictionless means first time. Pretty straightforward, right? Nice. It's a good starting point to have a nice, clear mission. Now, I think these are challenges that the whole world's going to face in probably every industry around data privacy and security, the need for high-performance compute with massive amount of data, and even energy consumption. You know, the server farms, and we've seen examples, you know, in parts of the other parts of the industry where there's a tremendous amount of energy and power that's required, compute power that's required to solve, you know, and to bring trust, right? So energy consumption is an important one. So the mission for AI, and that we've set for the team and for the company, is to remove fraudulent transactions from payments worldwide. It's ambitious, it's big, but I think we could all pretty easily agree that nothing good comes from financial crime. So it's an important goal. It's something that really motivates people to really look for innovative solutions, and it's again kind of the basis of what we do. So what do we do here? And again, this is not brochureware, and these aren't concepts that we're kind of talking about and writing thought leadership papers on. Let me share a couple of things that we've prioritized. One is to leverage strategic partners. We're a relatively small company of 3,000 people, and by leveraging partners, including C3 of course, we're able to gain expertise and capability, and the result is we operate at a much higher level and a much larger scale than we could do as a small company. And it's actually really kind of advantageous position for us to be in. The second thing we do is try to get access to the smartest people in the world. And one of the things that's really nice about Swift, when you propose the problems and try to solve the problems that we're actually trying to solve, you know, the most clever people in the world want to work with you to try to solve problems that we don't even know that could be solved. Another thing we do is we act humbly, and we actually know that we don't have all the answers. Not even close, we never will. But that's why we have innovation, to tackle these both business and technical challenges. And then the last thing we did is to take a platform approach. So everything we're building about AI is a platform approach. C3 is our platform provider and partner on that, of course. And what that gives us is really the ability to kind of scale up and control what we're building, as opposed to completely decentralized and kind of inserting randomness into the process and ultimately what turns into our products and services. So I've listed some of the, put some of the logos on here. Obviously, C3 is our platform. We've been working with them for some time now. As we are deploying this, we do get scale and control. So things like the versions and models matter a lot. Building, consistent, secure, private data pipelines that we can get leverage from and only do it once, that's important, right? So AI ops, machine learning ops, the consistent data pipelines that fall within our privacy and security and data governance standards. This is all how we get leverage, and this is how you get scale. Now, for the technical people in the community, I saw some hands go up earlier. I'll say that we use Red Hat OpenShift, again, on premises, to build a state-of-the-art container platform that's cloud ready. So right now, the work that we're doing and the kind of the high priority use cases we're working on is on our transaction data. That's never going to leave Swift. That's always going to be in an OPC. Never's a long time, but I think never is going to leave Swift. It's in an OPC, but we don't know for other business intelligence use cases. For example, we could potentially start running use cases and burst out, for example, into a public cloud. So it needs to be cloud ready. Now here's another one for the technical people. And I promise I'm not going to go too deep on this, but we're working with a company called Cove, which provides software-defined memory. This actually allows us to right-size the memory that we need to be able to deliver faster, to reduce the time to delivery for value. So we're really doing things that couldn't be done before. It's a truly breakthrough technology, and what it really does is it takes any server that we have in a data center and puts it into a memory pool across the entire data center. So we actually we don't need to take our models and tune the models for the size of the resources, including memory that we have in our server estate in our operating centers. We can actually size the hardware for the data set. It's really powerful. When you get into more advanced techniques of machine learning and training models, things like deep learning, there's a tremendous amount of data that you need. We're not going to fit the model to the data. We're going to do it the other way around. This is a breakthrough technology. And just a couple of other points in terms of the software-defined memory, and really for the more technical people in the crowd, although there's pretty significant business benefits in this, is we really get increased efficiency for data scientists. We're a small company. We have a small team. I'm not going to hire 100 data scientists. I can't afford them. I couldn't find them. It's not happening. We want data scientists to spend all of their time doing productive work and modeling and finding insights, not trying to build standard data pipelines, not trying to figure out how they get access to an environment for them to be able to train their models, right? So the goal here is to really bring out data scientists' efficiency and to reduce that turnaround time, and again, the time to value. Now, from a technical point of view, running on on a single OpenShift cluster, we can run 100 times more containers on a single cluster, 100 times. And in terms of processing speed, if you compare keeping things in memory to storage, the access to that training data is 125 times faster when you compare memory to storage. It's significant, right? When you think about how many times you need to iterate and train models. Now, all of this uses a lot less resource and has higher utilization of the servers, so we're expecting to have about a 50% reduction in our energy consumption to power that training environment. That's significant when we look at the goals that are being pursued for ESG and our energy consumption. So there's ultimate flexibility in this. It's a really interesting product, and we expect it's going to pay lots of dividends for us. I'll move on to Argonne National Labs. So in addition, Argonne is a scientific research site in Chicago that this year will bring the world's fastest supercomputer online. So for the obvious one is we're going to work with them on high performance compute, and that's really important for the transformation that we're doing, which I'll explain in a minute for the industry. But what we're doing is we're building a network graph that will show all of the relationships for anything that happens on the Swift network. And again, 200 countries, 11,000 institutions. It's a pretty significant, understanding those relationships, with the corresponding banking business model as payments kind of go hop to hop to hop to the ultimate, credit of a beneficiary account, it will be a really important foundational piece of information for us. And at the same time, we're building a foundational anomaly detection model using simulated data. So again, this is another opportunity where we can't give Argonne and won't give Argonne the lab real transactional data, but we can create very precise statistical equivalents to the data for them to build anomaly detection models for a starting point. You heard yesterday from one of the speakers, they mentioned supercomputers and simulating nuclear explosions. So we're not simulating nuclear explosions. I haven't been asked to do that. I doubt that we will. But I think this is actually, I ask this question a lot, and it's great having such a large audience here, but I think this is the first time ever that a supercomputer is going to be used in financial services. So in terms of our ambition and the ability to attract clever people to solve some of the hardest problems in the world, that's a pretty good piece of evidence on the progress we're making. That relationship's up and running. We're seeing value from that relationship already from the results of the research. Now, just to put things in perspective on a supercomputer, if you were to run a job that would take 7 days on Argonne, that same job, if it was run on a standard server that we had in the Swift data center, would take approximately 28,000 years. That's material, right? So if I just think about time and 28,000 years, 25 to 30,000 years ago was kind of the beginning of the modern human time, right? So it's a pretty significant time frame. And then the last one, which I'll talk about more in the examples, are Microsoft and Google that are working with us on a number of really interesting innovations and things that we could potentially use for the industry. Now, I want to just kind of explain the journey we're on, and this is a journey. You know, everybody who's involved in this now knows, you know, of course you're going to look for early successes, but the kind of things that we're trying to build and the foundations that you need in place to do that, you know, we're on a journey. So we're actually going to start, and are starting by adding predictive analytics to an existing product that we have that assigns a risk score to an individual payment transaction. And it's actually a fantastic place to start from a modeling point of view because it's a rules engine. So we can very easily demonstrate the value and the precision of the rules engine versus how that's enhanced and how much better it gets by adding predictive analytics and machine learning models to it. It's really important for us in this journey to demonstrate that AI is adding value every step of the way. And if it's not, we'll kill it and we'll do something else. And so, you know, in innovation, you know, everything's not going to work, and we don't know if it's going to be, you know, this beneficial or that beneficial, but we're going to be able to measure that every step of the way. We're not running science projects. We have scientists that are working with us and academics that are working with us, and they're clever and it's super helpful, but we're not running science projects, and we're not running innovation theater. It's not for me to stand up here today and talk about how clever we could be. You know, we need real results. So as you see this slide here, we kind of start with enhancing the existing products, or move into other products as we go forward, and we gradually move into transformational topics. And what we're embarking on right now, and this is much more innovative and it will require some additional work, certainly, is really the transformational aspect of this. And there's two kind of things that are really transformational here. One is that we want to move from the in-network monitoring. So think of it as the equivalent of somebody hitting the send button, and then a lot of monitoring goes on, and things are watched on a number of different things, transaction flow and security and everything else. We want to move that model, and the transformation is to move that left into pre-validation. So before a payment is instructed, whether it's somebody hitting send or more likely through an API and automated processes, we want to be able to deliver instant and frictionless and have a high confidence level in that by moving that to the left and do that before the instruction's set. So I could make an argument that there's no way that we could ever deliver instant and frictionless and what our mission is without automation and without using predictive analytics and the machine learning work that we're actually doing here. The second thing that I think is really transformational is our ability to bring the industry together to be able to build, and I don't use this word lightly, a foundational anomaly detection model for the industry. We have a great starting point for our data, but through federated learning and obviously preserving the data privacy and security, that's important for us and important for the industry, important for, you know, our banks and our customers. We actually believe that we can build an anomaly detection model that's more accurate and more performant than anybody's ever seen in financial services before, ever, because of who we are and what we do and how we do it and the trust that our members have given us. So this is really, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more detail coming along, but the transformation really starts from existing products, get it up and running, prove that it actually adds values to the products. I'm not in a position to make a product announcement today, but watch this space. It's coming. I just can't talk about it today. And then we're going to go ahead and move that forward to other innovative work that we're doing that takes us all the way through federation across the industry. So there's a lot of different use cases, but I thought to kind of demonstrate where we're at on this and to talk about some of the early results that we're focusing on here is I want to talk about the transaction data and this risk score that we assign. Now, again, we have all kinds of different use cases we can work on. And you need a prioritization process, you need criteria to be able to do that. I believe it's going to actually touch every aspect of the company. So of course we're going to put it into our IT resiliency efforts, right, to have high watermarks and preventative measures and actions that can be taken to keep the resiliency and to run at the 5 nines that Swift does. Of course we're going to focus on customer experience. Right, we have a lot of good data on that, and there's improvements. We always want to do better at that. But where we put the high priority use cases on transaction data. So by adding this kind of, I would describe it as kind of a simple logistic regression model to an existing rules engine, we can see that our risk score becomes very, very useful and much more accurate almost immediately. This is the first step. And I won't bore you with kind of the F1 scores, and the data scientists will look at that and probably have some questions. I don't have time to go in that today, but it's a very large improvement in accuracy at the first step. So that's good. We want to see where we're adding value. Now, if you're our customer and the accuracy of that warning goes up, now, and Swift doesn't make a call on whether this is a fraudulent transaction or not. We can't do that. That's not our role. That's for the bank who send the transaction with other information they have to identify that. So we're not in the fraud detection business. We're in the business of applying intelligence about the transactions on an individual basis to our banks and our customers so they can actually call the fraud in action and do what they need to do to protect their franchise. What they get from this with the more accurate score is lower operational cost and obviously lower fraud cost. In a lot of ways, fraud is an economic problem. Right? So again, we want to be able to demonstrate value in what we're doing right away. The early indications and kind of the path that we're leading to product enhancements, potentially this year, it's working. I want to move to a business intelligence use case that we have as well. And this one we're actually doing with C3, with their with the CRM application. And we're also working with Google on that, and I'll explain to you why when we talk about what the use case here. And you'll remember, I think it's been mentioned a couple times before, I started this conversation with Tom at the Transform meeting last year. And who better to talk about CRM and AI for CRM than kind of the godfather of CRM, right? So again, we're just going to go right to the smartest people in the world to try to figure these things out. Well, we've actually actioned that. We've made really substantial progress. So we want to use the application to demonstrate that we can accelerate the adoption of Swift products by leveraging the data that we have at Swift with external data. So that was the kind of the hypothesis, right? We want to drive adoption, in this case, of a new product that we announced last year called Swift Go. Swift Go is targeted for low-value payments to help our banks compete with a number of different offerings there that allow consumers or retail segments to send money cross-border. So again, we're in the business of helping our customers, enabling our customers to service our customers better, and this is an example of that. And we want to be specific about this. We want to be able to target our business development people based on the usage, based on things that we know about them that sit in our CRM system, which is Salesforce, and other kind of transactional data to actually, again, we're a small company. We want to focus our business development people to drive the usage of the product, because Swift Go is about a network effect. So if you don't have the network, it's not as useful to customers. So all these things come together really nicely, and we can use really the analytics to measure the propensity of a client adopting Swift Go. And we can drive them that. Now, we haven't got into revenue forecasts and all that kind of stuff. We want the basics. Again, we're a co-op, and we want whatever we build to be used and valued by our customers. Yes, of course, we charge for it. But that's not our goal. We're not a for-profit first company. We're a co-op, and we want to make sure that whatever we build is very, very useful for our customers. We can actually measure the value. We've also been working with Google, and again, the premise was you could use lots of external data to add insights to the data that you already have. And we found that to be true. And if you're going to get external data, it's hard to think of a company better than Google to go get access to external data. Everything, right? They have everything. And so whether it's remittance flows in other sectors, whether it's news and sentiment, that's all being factored into our model, again, to direct our business development people to sell Swift Go. And when they sell Swift Go, you get the network effect. When we get the network effect, we're adding more value to our customers. So our conclusion is that this is hugely valuable, and it's something that we're going to actually move forward with. I want to talk about what's next in the time that I have left. And we said before, this is a little bit of a busy slide, but we're never going to jeopardize or compromise the security and the integrity and the privacy that we're expected to deliver with our data for any feature or insight. I can say that absolutely, that's never going to happen, right? It can't happen. And there's lots of governance and lots of controls in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I said before, what we're trying to do is to leverage strategic partners to try to figure out how we can operate at a scale and bring expertise and capability that we don't have in-house. So we're partnering with Microsoft to try to figure this out. And the ambition is to build a federated learning network that can be used across financial services. Again, it'll be similar to your industry, and we'll see this obviously a lot in financial services. But data is very sensitive, right? So where we're taking this approach for federated learning, what we're suggesting is we take the model and move it to the data, as opposed to having everybody send the data to us. We don't want everybody to send all of the data that they need to us to train the model. That wouldn't be a good thing. And so we don't want that. So again, we have, who we are and what we do and what we're expected to deliver drives our innovation agenda. So we're working with Microsoft on this potential. Now, I threw a couple things up here just to illustrate kind of the areas we're looking at. Confidential compute could be used to protect the data that's in use and in flight in use while we go ahead and train the model. We're evaluating and piloting a zero trust policy control framework. Again, this is our customers' data. It's not our data. This gives our customers full control over and allows them to implement policies in terms of where the data is located, how the data is used. Right? When you go to a bank and you say, give us access to data, their second question is, what are you going to use it for? And how long are you going to have it? And how will we be sure that it's going to be protected? A zero trust framework that they control, that we can implement their policies, we think is a very effective way of doing that. And then also we're using the Purview data sharing, which really eliminates the need to kind of move and duplicate data. And that sometimes gets overlooked as well in terms of privacy, is people make copies of they say it's really private, but there's 9 different copies. And so, if anything, a cyber security person would tell you that you're kind of expanding your risks or your exposure and your risk surface when you do things like that. So we're looking at how to do that. We're going to work with our customers on 2 things. One is the obvious one, which is, can we give you the model to train the model with data that we don't have in segments that we don't cover? Swift is primarily looking after institutional fraud, but we can move into other segments, SMB market, even the retail market, domestic payment systems, which we're connected to virtually every one. So we can, the obvious thing is to train the model with the data that we don't have, and again, make it a lot more accurate than it already is, to the point where we can make this a foundational model for financial services. The other one is, just from an innovation point of view, we need to know, how do our customers want us to deliver this to them? Yeah, one of our drivers here is we just assume we don't know everything, right? No better way to kind of get together with our customers to try to figure that out. And our customers want to work with us. We have foundational customers signed up in all 3 regions of the world to help us design the product and also innovate on the federated learning techniques. So again, if we get this right, we're in a position to deliver a highly performant anomaly detection model for financial services that could be used at Swift and also be used in other parts of the payments infrastructure in the world. It's an ambitious goal, but we think we're on a path to figure that out. And that's actually only being done through collaboration. And we just can't, our basic idea on what we believe on this one is that we can build something much better together than any one institution, bank or academic institution or big tech, than anyone can do alone. Even the most sophisticated, advanced institutions. It's going to be better if we do this together. So to wrap up, it was said yesterday, I really agree and feel lucky that we're able to be working on these problems with the kind of impact and the potential and the promises that are out there at this time. This is an amazing time to be in financial services. It's an amazing time with the technology advancements and everything else to be able to advance the industry and do it in a responsible way and never kind of trading off the value that Swift brings to the world. There's a lot of really great opportunities to make things, and again, better, faster, and smarter. We're here. It's happening. We're on a mission to really transform how the world moves value. I think a great trajectory for that. We already have some early wins on that, and you can see why we're so optimistic, and it's so easy to get people excited to come work with us to figure out how we can tackle some of the most important and critical problems for the world. Thank you for your time today.